If you find yourself in a position where you're doing lots of client work, but those same clients aren't coming back to you time and time again, then I guarantee that you're making the same mistakes as I did. Now, when I started out, I thought creativity was everything. I used to go to businesses with all of my amazing ideas, and that ended up actually being the downfall. It was the reason that people weren't coming back to us. The worst thing is, we had clients that loved our work, we had clients that didn't like our work, and the worst kind of clients are the people that said that they loved it and then just never came back to us. And that was because we were ultimately letting creativity destroy our income and have a huge negative impact. And throughout this video, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that and kind of how this all works to give you the systems that we use today so that you don't make the same mistakes and let creativity get in the way. Now, I'm certainly not saying you can't be creative and bring all of your own ideas. That just comes at the later stage. What we identified that we were doing wrong was letting our own ideas get in the way of what was important for the client. So, for example, if I liked rock music, I was making my videos with rock music. For other projects, I would use rap music. And then I was using all of the creativity and all the things that I've seen on the internet and all these other creators do. And I was doing that for everyone. And we created some really nice work. But the problem is, it just didn't hit the spot with what the businesses wanted because, quite frankly, we weren't asking the right type of questions. To be fair, we weren't really asking any questions at all. We were just going full steam ahead with our creativity and leading them on excitement, which is important. But when you lead something purely on excitement and you don't understand the needs of their business and how they're going to measure success, then that ultimately leaves you in a situation where those clients don't see the results and then they don't come back to you. So now one of the things that we do is we really take the time in those initial stages to find out as much about the client and their business as possible. If they've seen any inspiration that they like the look of and things that we can use to kind of play on. And we certainly ask them, what sort of thing are you looking as the end result for the video to do? So let me just explain that bit a little bit better. So we're basically finding out, why do you want the video in the first place? What's the actual purpose? Is it to drive sales? Is it to drive engagement? Once we understand that top level, we then work out who's the ideal customer, who's buying this stuff. Is it, 50-year-old men? Or is it 20-year-old females? Or whereabouts does that actually sit? And that's important to understand because that will help you guide your creativity in a much more fluid way that actually starts to deliver those results. And speaking of results, the final question we generally get to ask them is, how are you going to measure the success of this? And this is where you start to manage those expectations and stop those horrible moments where the client's unhappy and you're sitting there thinking, well, it wasn't us. That was because of you. We made a great video. At this point, the client usually says something like, we want it to drive more sales, or we want to increase our engagement on social media, or we just want to launch the product and make something exciting for people to see. Again, this is all just building out what that creative angle will be in. At the very start of my journey, we just went out with our ideas in mind and kind of pushed that onto the client. And this opportunity of getting to really understand that business and putting the emphasis on them helps direct that creativity to make sure it does actually deliver some results at the end. And if it doesn't and it does miss the mark, you and the client will be much more aligned than you were previously, and you'll be able to have that conversation. And generally speaking, it then ends up being something that they've done with the implementation process or something like that. But you have to understand, as non-creative business owners or marketing managers in other businesses, they won't have the same vision as you. And that's really important for the next stage, which is actually that communication of getting that idea across to them. And this comes into aligning your creativity with their business goals. And this is generally done over a collaborative brainstorming session because, number one, it's super quick and easy. And clients, especially those clients who aren't that creative, absolutely love this because they feel like they've gone away from the day being like, oh wow, we did something really fun and exciting. And you're literally thinking, we just looked at mood boards and storyboards and just did a bit of a brainstorming session. But they love it and it builds a better relationship with you and them. And they love to see that process as well. You might have seen in design agencies, they say, we came up with this logo because we looked at the sun and how it was positioned, your office. And they go into loads of details over how they created this logo, which seems like nonsense, but these people love that process. They love to see what they're actually paying for. So when you start to align your creativity with their business goals, do that over a brainstorming session, sit down with them, throw out some ideas ideas? What kind of things do you like? And we call this creative problem solving. And what you're looking to do here is saying, okay, so you want to drive more sales to your mechanic's garage. Okay, so how might we show someone your quality of work? They then start pitching you their ideas from a business standpoint, and then it's up to you to turn that creatively. So let's take that example. A mechanic's garage might say, well, yeah, something that really separates us is we've got a 5-part process to ensure quality of work. And then you say, okay, great. What does that process look like? And they talk you through it, and they say, well, we've got iPads, and we go through and tick it off. Then from a creative standpoint, you can think, okay, well, how about we attach a camera to the iPad? You pick the iPad up, the camera pans with it, and then it's got your finger moving along the check boxes, and your creativity can really start to snowball from then. And it's so much more directed rather than when I started just wanting to do rap video styles for the most corporate of businesses. It just, yeah. Now I say that, it seems like such an obvious thing to why these people weren't coming back, but I couldn't literally make heads or tails of it. I was like, we're producing really cool stuff, and it was getting like good engagement, but they just weren't coming back to us. And like I said, the worst type of clients are the clients that say that they love it and they just never come back to you, and it's not often for quite a while that you start to realize, it was probably because of that reason. Now, adapting to client preferences can be difficult for sure, and you have to acknowledge that they have their own thoughts and processes and their own factors and metrics of how they're going to measure success within this video. Business owners tend to be a lot more money focused because they see the money coming in and out, as I'm sure you guys do as well. Marketing managers tend to be a little bit more creative focused on the overall impact of less about driving sales, but more about driving reception and brand engagement and those kind of things. And there's a real significance on striking a balance between the client's ideas and your creative injection as well. And don't forget, they're hiring you as an expert in that field. And I just want to say where this fits into the overall sales process is pretty much anyone that is a hot lead that we've had a conversation with over the phone or over email, we've told them our prices and they're happy to kind of proceed on that basis. We tell them at that point, here's our process now. So we say, we have a brainstorming session, we do XYZ with you, and then that comes after we know that they're a customer and things are likely, to take off, or they've already paid the deposit or something like that. So you're never normally venturing down this line until you're certain that they're going to come with you. And up until that point, all you're doing is asking questions and then pitching back your creative ideas initially to them. Rather than just going to them with your own ideas, you're actually now able to take what they want and then just pitch it back to them in a creative way. And then they're like, oh my God, this guy is brilliant. Like, he knows everything, because you're aligned with their brand. Plus you've brought your creative injection into this project. And then it does generally make you so much more valuable to work with. The final part of kind of our pre-production, but also our full-on process that we've now embodied because of this over the years, is how we actually manage the client and manage their expectations. And quite simply put, we just use SMART objectives for a lot of our projects. So SMART stands for specific. So we want to be specific about what it is that we're actually doing. M is measurable. How are we actually going to measure this result? Is it by increasing the amount of likes on Facebook, the amount of sales they're making, or overall reception? A is achievable. How achievable are those metrics for you to actually deliver on that project? And that ties in really nicely with R, which stands for realistic, because within the budget that they've set you, how realistic is that? Because they might say, okay, our measure is to 10x our engagement on Instagram or TikTok, and you say, okay, yep, that's an achievable goal. And then they say that their budget is $100, and then you say, well, that's no longer realistic now, so we need to, and it gives you more of a bartering tool as well to then again go back to them and say, look, we've come up with some crazy ideas here that are going to be amazing, but we need the budget to be able to make them happen. You showed me some inspirations from other businesses. Those videos would have cost a lot more than this, and it gives you a real good tool to barter with them. And then finally is T is timescales. You need to know deadlines. We never used to ask deadlines because we used to just get stuff turned around really quickly. Huge bad factor within our business, because then everyone expects it done next day, and then when you start to grow your business, you just quite simply can't do that. They feel like they're getting less of a service. Doesn't end well. So set deadlines. Again, realistic with the timescales and what you're able to achieve within that actual time frame. I just want to remind you guys, you're in the videography business and you need to focus on that second part, which is the business side of things, as I'm sure is the exact reason why you're here. So if you're not subscribed, please do press that subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. And it means that basically we know that we're putting out good information. So I'd really appreciate if you're not already subscribed to press that button right now. By just focusing on creativity, you'll make a lot of mistakes, and it's a lot more hit or miss whether or not you will be successful. If you focus some of your time or half of your time on the business side as well, I guarantee that's going to do wonders for your business. So take this information today, learn from our mistakes and our experience as well, and apply this to your own business, and you'll definitely have a much smoother run than we have. We've definitely made a lot of mistakes, and I'm super transparent about that, because I'll tell you about all of our successes, but I'm more than happy to tell you about our failures, because they're the things that are going to cost you time and money and stop you from growing your business. So if you want to learn about one of our biggest failures that we have ever made in business, then I really recommend you take a look at this video. This was how we lost a huge amount of money almost in the space of a couple of weeks, just because we overlooked a very, very simple point in our business and we couldn't believe it. So take a look at that. Thanks so much. Make sure you're subscribed. See you next time.